Brand Nerds, another Brands, Beats, and Bytes podcast. And while none of the producers on the show, LT, like me to date the show, it
You
is
always do, though, D.
I always do it. I always do it. I can't help myself. It is NFL Draft Day Thursday, 2024. That's what's going down today. And LT, would you like to know what city the draft is happening in?
In your wonderful hometown of Detroit.
The D. Okay,
That's
what
right.
up, though, Detroit? So this is Football Thursday, and Brand Nerds on in football. You all know that folks get hurt, physically hurt, and I have an acknowledgement. Brand Nerds, I'm hurt. I got a broken hand. I have a torn hamstring. My shoulder is busted up. I have lacerations and bruises. And it's all because I went running on cement, and the cement won, unfortunately. The cement won. Now, at this point, Brand Nerds, you may be wondering, well, now, brother, are you going to get to like where this connects to the guest? I'm about to get there. I'm arriving at a point, I promise you. So what I'm doing, Brand Nerds, is I am undergoing quite a bit of physical rehabilitation. I'm taking care of myself physically. But what I most need is some spiritual rehabilitation. I need to be around folks who fill me with two specific things. One is wisdom, someone that can fill me with wisdom. And the second thing is someone who can bring forward a level of compassionate humanity and bring those things together. And during this podcast, Brand Nerds, we have one of the few people I know who does both daily. Who's in the house, LT? Who's in the building?
Oh, D, this is going to be a good one. We had BJ Bueno in the house. Welcome, BJ.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Wow. So excited.
We're thrilled to have you, BJ. So, okay, Brand Nerds, as DC mentioned, we have someone in the house who's also a great friend of the show. And dare I say, in our 150 plus episodes, I can honestly say BJ is a true brilliant original. BJ was born to a missionary family in Santiago, Dominican Republic, and he grew up in places like Bolivia and Peru. As a 9-year-old boy camped in the high peaks of Peru, he immersed himself in books and learning magic. While his peers were playing baseball and going to school, BJ was mastering the secrets of the world's greatest magicians and poring over the work of brilliant minds like Carl Jung, Abraham Maslow, and Joseph Campbell. BJ's passion and love for the art of illusion were evident to anyone who saw him perform, and by age 17, his exploration of the mysteries of the unknown led him into marketing and advertising. As a perpetual student of the mind, he began exploring new ways of blending the fields of humanistic psychology, comparative mythology, history, religion, and psychiatry into his masterful discipline of consumer marketing and advertising. By age 23, he had delivered keynote speeches to the Harvard Business School, Fortune 500 companies, and top universities throughout the world. In his lectures, BJ explains that successful marketing is comprised of what we know about life. If it matters, it will sell. If it tastes good, let the customer taste it. BJ has built a reputation based on his insight and expertise into building brands. He founded and operated his own successful ad agency before becoming a partner in Nonbox, a national agency, and eventually BJ moved onto his current position, becoming founder and managing partner of the Cult Branding Company, a boutique retail consulting and marketing strategy firm located in Orlando, Florida. BJ has had many prominent clients over the years, such as SAP, Kohl's Department Store, Apple, the Life is Good Company, the LA Lakers, to name a few. Additionally, BJ is a renowned author in our marketing space. His works include Customers First, Dominate Your Market by Winning Them Over Where It Counts the Most. He's co-authored The Power of Cult Branding and gone back solo for the Cult Branding Workbook and Why We Talk, the Truth Behind Word of Mouth. With all his great work and his books as a backdrop, BJ is a sought-after keynote speaker for organizations large and small, and as an interview subject with prominent outlets such as CNN, USA Today, and the New York Times. Brand nerds, this one's going to be really good. Welcome to Brands, Beats, and Bytes, BJ Bueno.
Thank you, guys. Man, that is amazing. A lot of been working at it for a while. Still at it. DC
Still
knows
at it.
we're in
Still
there.
doing great stuff, BJ.
Yes,
You've
sir.
done
We're
incredible
trying.
work.
Thank you, Larry. You know, I'm a big fan of you guys as well. When I had the chance to spend time with DC and work together, you know, it was like he was talking about the work that you guys do and how you guys think about positioning brands and fixing them in that space. Of course, you guys are the doctors, but I was just like, you know, DC knows. I was just like, man, these guys are amazing. So I'm a huge fan. I follow you guys. I'm a brand nerd myself, I would like to say.
Thank you, BJ.
Yeah. All right, brand nerds. I tipped my hand a little bit at the beginning about what I think about BJ, but I just want to fully tip the hand now. BJ and I are friends. We have been friends for a long time. And even when he and I do not talk with one another for a period of time, as soon as I hear his voice, I light up with glee. It's as if we were sitting together in a car, because he and I have driven from Orange County up to LA and back and all that kind of stuff. So BJ is my friend. He's my boy. And so BJ, this next section is called Get Comfy. And,
awesome.
And so I'm going to go into an area that you know, but I'm going to set it up with a quote by a gentleman that has been on our podcast, BJ. His name is Oren. What's Oren's last name, LT?
Oren Katzif.
Yeah, Oren Katzif. Shout out Oren Katzif one time. And BJ, what he said to us is, he actually taught us this. You think about great movies, TV programs, content, books, whatever it is, the ones that separate themselves have one thing in common. They tell you the stuff you don't know about the stuff you know. Yeah, the stuff you don't know about the stuff you know. We adhere to that. And in some ways, there's a connection to magic in the stuff you don't know about the stuff you know. But I'm going to go to a different place. You and I had the unique experience of getting a call to become a part of a small group of, at the time, 4 people. And they told me about, the 2 people told me about you. I'd never met you before, never heard of you before. This is how we met, y'all. And and then you later told me they told you about me.
Right.
And then eventually we get on to it almost seemed clandestine. It wasn't clandestine, but it felt that way. It felt like, ooh, what are we going into here? Like we couldn't talk about it. We couldn't talk about it.
Right.
And guys, and brand nerds, here was the group. BJ, me, Rob Pelinka, and Kobe Bean Bryant. And it was when Kobe Bean Bryant was starting his first business foray into the marketing space and the branding space. Mm-hmm. And they found BJ and me. And I'd already worked with Rob, and who I affectionately call
you were the first person to put him on TV. So, you know, you taught him the game. So let's just get that part right. I mean, Kobe's a master at what he was, but you taught him and say, hey, you got to build a brand, bro. Because when he came to me, he's like, dude, I got to build a brand. And, you know, what he was more interested in, I got to build a cult brand because I'm a cult, you know. So he knew that part. So it was like, that was the combo. But he was like, I got my dude that told me how to build the brand. You're going to meet my guru. And he's going to meet you. And the 2 of you are going to figure it out. So I thought it was awesome. Yeah, definitely. It's like, he knew. You already taught him the foundation.
Thank you, brother. That's awesome, BJ. I'm glad you added that. I want to set a little bit of foundation. I'm going to get out of the way so the brand nerds know, because you don't like to talk about this. So brand nerds, DC, what BJ was alluding to is DC brought Kobe into the Sprite world, and Kobe became someone very important to what DC was doing with the Sprite brand with Obey Your Thirst. So that's what BJ was alluding to. So I just want to
Correct.
we want to make sure that the brand nerds understand what that foundation was. So
no, yeah, and since we're in the presence of nerds, and I have been where other nerds get afraid of the one nerd in the room. So this is, to me, DC's like that nerd that I'm like, oh no, dun, 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 dun. Like, Bueno, come here. I've heard about you. So no, but
true.
honestly, the power of it was that I already knew, because Kobe was Obey Your Thirst, and the other thing was you were the first to bring hip music, so it was the combination. So that's another thing. You had the culture part. Kobe was a part of it because everybody looks up to that star, but then you also brought in the music, which taught him the culture. And of course, you have been a master of integrating culture into your branding space. But I just think, again, I remember Kobe seeing that framework for him was like, I kind of think I have to become full. DC has the formula, but I also want followers. So it's like, maybe I can figure something out here between what these gentlemen have. But it was awesome. Yeah, I totally was just super impressed by being in the same room.
So D, keep going painting that picture if you don't mind.
So thank you, brothers. Thank you, my brothers. I was also impressed after I began to study BJ, because Larry, like you and I and Jeff and our team and BJ, more than being teachers, we're students.
Yep.
We're students. So BJ's a student. You're a student, Larry. I'm a student. So I started studying BJ, studying his work, getting into this notion of cult branding, which I never heard of before, by the way. But whenever I heard of cult, I always thought, oh, that's bad. That's bad. But fundamentally, it's about people following something, getting into something. So I studied BJ, and then I was like, oh man, I cannot wait to meet this guy. So here's my question to you, BJ. Looking back now, and Kobe's gone, rest in power. But we know what this brother did. We know what he did, not just in the game, but outside of the game. We know what he did and what he meant. Being on a call with him, like three-way call, you, me, him, Rob, and other folks, and our meeting with him in an intimate settings, that kind of thing. What did you learn from this brother? What did you learn from Kobe Bean Bryant?
Me personally, there's a lot I took away. One thing I think is of the time that you and I met him, and that's an interesting question. I hadn't quite thought about that, and that's interesting. I have written a little bit about it. I kept it very private, our relationship. To this day, I really don't speak about it much, because there was a lot there that we were going through as building the brand. As it was a very sensitive time. So I kind of built it like, hey, there's some privacy. But one of the things that I really loved about the time that we all spent together was one of the calls that you probably remember this, but it was like one of those afternoons, and Kobe was at practice with his daughter Gigi, and she had to go swimming, and we got talking about sort of the humanistic side of it, that he was also a dad, that he's also like, how do we think beyond the role? And so it's like, we're dads, we're marketers, we're CEOs, we're entrepreneurs, we're students, we're all these roles that we play. And then when we try to hold on to one role as the one role, it kind of becomes like the Highlander. That role kind of wants to kill all the other roles because there only could be one. And that's not good for us. And I think that was a time that both you and I were kind of expanding his as friends more than anything, that it was nice that he was spending time with his daughter. We're like, yo, let's talk later. And it was one of those moments where he was like, thanks, guys. And it was like, he was human. And it made me think that, no matter your climb or how you might be a demigod among men, taking time to be human, to reconnect with family, with friends, to your kids swimming, and then thinking about, what's happened since then, and the fact that those times were special, then I think it's one of those things that I'm glad that, we always knew, I felt, when to take time away from business and just allow for him to be a human and for us to be people. And you would play some dope music on the way to there, and we wouldn't talk business the whole way. We would just allow ourselves to have a moment of being individuals, and then would step into this role of marketer, CMO, whatever, all this fun stuff that we love doing. But that, taking time to be a person, being an individual, just connected.
Wow.
Love that.
Because you remember where we met, right? We were at the Dave and Buster's in the back of Dave and Buster's. It wasn't like a fancy restaurant. It was like the first original meeting was Dave and that was like that's where he likes to hang out. In the back, and he's like, "Yo, if I had more time, I would go shoot some hoops with you guys." You know, people start bugging me, but he wanted to just like show that he was at the same level, that he wasn't coming with like his trophies or an ego. That he was like, yo, you guys are here to help me, and I'm also going to help myself. Like, I'm not coming here with this giant ego. So a lot of times, because I'm not a news person, I don't watch the news, I would have a conflict between what I was reading the news and the man I met.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, so BJ, you talked about keeping this private. The only time that I have publicly spoken about this, the only time, is now. Right now. I've never said a word about it. Those that are close to me, they know, but I've never spoken, never on a podcast. We've done more than 150 of these. The reason why I wanted to ask you about it and bring it forward to the brand nerds is out of respect. And then also, you just don't know folks until you get really close to them.
Yep.
And as you said, what may be on the news is not necessarily representative of the human you meet. And I know that there are only a few people in the world that have that experience with him, and you're one of them. you're one of them, BJ. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, since we're talking to brand nerds, one of the things that I would share with them is when you go through a brand discovery process, one of the games that you should play is pretend you're an alien. You have, and now the reason why people don't like the strategy is because then you sound dumb.
Yeah.
But you remember all the kind of dumb questions that I would ask Kobe like all day long, like, so what's the triangle offense? Like, I don't know what that means. It's like, I hate these guys. They don't know the triangle offense. We were all day. Like, I already know this. And he's like, he's getting frustrated with his co-workers. I'm like, what is that? He's like, are you serious? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Explain it to me. Like, what is it? It's like, well, and then he ran into it and he broke it down, how everyone has an archetype and they're supposed to play a role. And he taught me, he gave me a 20-minute education on how the triangle offense works. And it's like a diamond that cuts into the offense and it rotates. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And who came up with that? So then you start asking these questions at the brand discovery process. If you come in with, well, I read Phil Jackson's book, and then you cut the other person off. And I think that also, if you want to be a brand nerd and want to discover new things, you got to act like an alien. You got to sometimes be like, I don't know, tell me about it, and allow for that space to be filled.
That's deep.
I just want to say this one thing, and then we'll go to the next section. Larry, any thoughts you have on this? So, all right, I'm going to tell this one other story. BJ will remember this. So, as we were working with Kobe on his brand, one of the things that Kobe and Pelinka, who I call Link, what they wanted us to do is have alignment with the Lakers. So that's how we ended up getting the Lakers as a client. And so if you're going to be in alignment with the Lakers and the Lakers brand, you have to meet and work with the Lakers. So there was one meeting that me and BJ were in. Pelinka, I can't remember whether Kobe was there or not. I don't remember Kobe. You might.
I think Phil Jackson was in there.
Okay,
Phil was there.
Jenny Buss was there, and Phil came in. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we are. So BJ and I, we're sitting there, and we're walking through like, this is what's happening with Kobe, the brand, and we'll talk about the Lakers. So what do you remember from that meeting? And we were like in a little room at the Lakers practice facility. I think it was El Segundo.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that meeting, BJ?
I mean, I have photographic memory, bro. DC, I can get into detail, Well, you had just breaking down for them how the brand lover allowed them to sacrifice and focus. And remember, one of the issues that the Lakers were having was that they were getting no renewal for their sort of like their ticket holders, like annual holders.
Yep.
Yeah, they were not like renewing up at the speed that they were, and there was some concern. And I mean, there were some parts in the meeting they were like, we're not sure what the league is standing. And I remember the Phoenix Suns were in competition on the other end of the spectrum. So then all of a sudden, DC breaks into like, what does the brand do? And it forces you to sacrifice, and it focuses you to focus. And one of the pillars that we had uncovered, DC and I working together, was that the Lakers were a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
And
yes.
That's awesome.
Damn, BJ, you remember that?
Oh, bro, you know, hey, I'm an elephant, man, unfortunately. And it's not always good. But Phil was like, yes, that's what the people need, a beacon of hope. And then he broke down how in Chicago, one thing I took away that on the negative side was that he felt that there was never enough success to go around. But if you could just get that success to the fans, that was the way, because then each athlete could feel part of it. But yeah, I remember that meeting was incredible. I mean, they were both just like, this is great. And remember, you had the whole brand book binded in a leather. It looked like a basketball. It was really like super on brand. I loved like the way you packaged everything. I mean, they were just, you know, they was their first time seeing like the cohesion between the two. And I think Jeannie obviously was super impressed as well. She was very happy.
So I want to just say, well, I'm getting out of the way, but I want brand nerds to understand. Jeannie is Jeannie Buss, who is now the one of Jerry Buss's children, who is really the managing director, I believe, and is the point person, right, of the ownership of the Buss family right now. And Rob Pelinka, I just want to establish for the brand nerds, Rob Pelinka, at the time that BJ and DC were working with him, he was Kobe's agent at the time, right, guys? And now
and best friend, I would say. They were like inseparable.
Right. And now Rob Pelinka is the general manager of the Lakers and has been for some time now. So I just wanted the brand nerds to understand the delineations of the people that you guys are talking about.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, so BJ, the fact that you remember this detail is blowing my mind. But brand nerds, I want to get something straight here. BJ's like, DC, I remember you said this and Beacon of Hope, and you came in with this. All of that was stuff that BJ and I did together. Don't let this dude fool you.
Yeah.
No. Every single thing in that book, all of the strategies, all the words, BJ and I did that together. Okay, so just to be clear.
Oh no, for sure, and I appreciate that. But DC, man, you have to let me give you some flowers. You guys do such a good job giving flowers to everybody. You know, I wanted to come in, armed. I have some for LT too. I'm prepared this time. I know that you guys do such a great job building other folks, and I just, I'm a fan of what you guys do, so I want to come reciprocate.
My man. Wow, BJ, Beacon of Hope. And I remember when we were explaining this to them, how there was a pause, and they were like, "Wow, and you're right." And Phil was like, "That's it. And I was so happy. I knew that BJ wouldn't do this, but I didn't. I was like, I just hope we don't embarrass Kobe. I just hope I hope we represent the brilliance of this young man. That's what I was hoping. And we did a pretty good job, BJ. Did a pretty good job.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, no, we crushed it. They were, and then Kobe's brand took off. We switched from 8 to 24. A lot of the strategies were rolling. We were popping, like you guys like to say. We were off.
Yeah.
Everything took off for them, and a lot of good. So I think, again, a lot to learn from his life for sure. But I think our time together was definitely special because we were in a spot where he was vulnerable, and we both came from a place of protecting him and using our skill set to create a brand structure around him that allowed him to be both human and commercial. Remember, that's some of our big conversations too.
That's deep.
Yep. All right, LT. We're going to go to the next section. I don't know that I've had a more personal, get comfy discussion in the history of our podcast, and I'm able to do that because I'm talking to my brother here, BJ.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys waited a little while. Got good at podcasting, and I refuse to start a podcast because I just want to be a guest in cool podcast like you guys. So this is my chance. You guys are giving me a shot here. I appreciate it.
Cool, BJ.
You're killing it already.
All right, LT. We're going to 5 questions, brother. So
Let's
BJ, this is how this goes down. We hit you with 5
Okay.
questions. I go 1, Larry goes 1, back and forth until we arrive at 5. I get a chance to take the first shot. So
Okay.
BJ, take yourself back You are a young shorty or you're young in the game. You have a branding experience that just captivates you. You can't get it out of your mind. You can't spend enough time with it. When you think you've been engaged with this brand for like 10 minutes, you look at your watch, you like, has it been 3 hours? I thought it was just 15 minutes. Almost like a first love. What was that brand or brand experience for you, brother?
Oh wow. I had to think about this, and it's a cool question because sometimes when I work with consumers, I'll ask them a similar thing. I'll say like, "Hey, what was your first dawn of consciousness with this brand?" So when you guys said, "Hey, think about the first experience you had with a brand that really captivated you," I'm sorry for my language, but it's fucked up, guys. Like I honestly was like, "Holy crap!" So my first experience is with Coca-Cola when I was a kid in DR, Dominican Republic. um, my mom loved Coca-Cola. She still does, and there's a whole story behind that because we're from Cuba, and it was very special to go to Coca-Cola in Cuba. So as a kid, a Coke was like a big deal. So growing up in DR, Coca-Cola would run these promotions where you would get a couple of the tops, and if you collect them, then they would give you a free yo-yo, like a professional yo-yo. So then we went into the fair that year, and Coca-Cola, I guess, had brought some folks. I was a kid, I was like 6, but this is like literally first on of a brand. And I'm collecting every possible thing, collecting the yo-yos. Then I see this master yo-yo guy doing stuff with Coca-Cola, things like this. And I'm like, I got to collect all these. And I'm, of course, in love with the yo-yos and all these things. I bring this with me on our mission trip through Peru, through Bolivia. And when I get to Bolivia as a school trip, I mean, it's just I never been asked this question, so it's crazy you guys are asking me. But it's like literally something, it's like it was crazy because I'm like, man, my origin story in marketing is just the funniest thing. So I'm in Bolivia in a school field trip. I must be like 4th grade, 5th grade. They take us to the Coca-Cola bottling company.
Wow.
And I'm like, of course, like a kid, like going to a Snickers company or whatever. I was like, if you love I'm like, this is great. And they show us the whole plant, whatever. And I am like, this is how they put it in. And then they take us to a little side room where this woman, very beautiful woman, as I remember as a kid, gets up and begins to, the lights go dim and a screen comes on and she tells us the history of Coca-Cola and the brand and how it acts and how it lives. And basically, she's giving us like a brand presentation for kids. I didn't know this at the time, but I had this feeling in me that I was like, I want to do that, what she's doing. Like, that was like my first hint. Like, I was like, that is so cool. Like, companies have stories. And this lady's telling me this story, and I like this company. So it was like, I remember the first time that I really was like, it even like sort of woke up in me like, I didn't know what she did. I didn't know what it was, but I thought it was cool as shit. I thought it was the coolest shit ever, that she was telling us this cool ass story and the lights went dark and the video played. I was like a sucker for it. Like, I'm like, I loved it. I just thought it was the coolest thing. And since that day, everything around me, when I got back to the States as a kid, I just like loved business, love entrepreneurship, love presenting, love content, love marks, love brands, love marks. The whole process was like contagious to me. I was like, I fell in love with Ogilvy and with Burnback, and I would just start reading, like poring over like sort of the people that built the industry. I didn't know I was like reading shit that was 1950s. Like, I was super late, but that's what I filled my head with. It was just like that original, experience. So that, it's not, I know Americans look down at Coca-Cola like a sugar water, but man, coming from a third world country, bro, I was like, this is it, man. These people know how to do it. Free yo-yos, cool stuff, refreshing drink. I got you. Yeah, you're my thing. So that was like my earliest experience with a brand that I just like really attached to.
Wow.
That's incredible. D, I really don't have anything to add to that other than the fact that I felt like BJ took me to that side room with this beautiful woman who was taking, and we've seen these movies because of DC's and I having worked within the confines of that wonderful place in on North Avenue in Atlanta. So we really understand that part. But for a 6-year-old to be, as you use the word, captivated, brand nerds, that is like kick-ass marketing right there.
Oh yeah, no, I was sold.
Yeah, I don't have anything either, but
I mean, it's
I was
messed up
sitting
to
right
say,
next to you, BJ.
Yeah.
bro. It's messed up to say that I have worked for amazing brands, but when I got to go to Coca-Cola and work for Coca-Cola for a couple projects, that was like when I was calling my mom. I'm like, yo, you're not gonna believe where I'm at.
Oh, okay. All right. So BJ, we're going to go to the next question. That was
Yes, sir.
amazing. So BJ, who has had or is having the most influence on your career?
Um, this one for me is really I would say the field of psychology in essence. I mean, I love data sciences. I just love knowledge. I think knowledge has have the most influence. I'm a big fan of Daniel Kahneman, who just passed away. He wrote the book Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm a huge fan. DC knows this, of Abraham Maslow. I think it's super classical psychology, but if you look at some of the processes that as marketers we're asked to solve for customers, they'll ask us things like, well, what need does my brand fulfill? So for a long time, when I first got going, I used to try to like figure that out by brainstorming it. But then I realized that psychologists and folks that work in humanities, actually, that's what they ask themselves. What do humans need? So they have a better, clear answer to that than me as a marketer, because I have a strong bias to try to sell you my product.
Right.
So then I realized that that bias was kind of blocking me. So then in being able to develop clean strategy, basically. So a lot of, I think my biggest influence is, psychology, cognitive psychology, really understanding what is a brand. Basically, a brand is a memory, is an associative memory. So the work of Eric Kandel, like he won the Nobel Prize for basically how memories are stored in our brains. The work of Steven Pinker, the work of folks like Maslow, and also, like I mentioned, Daniel Kahneman, who just passed away at 90. I think Thinking Fast and Slow should be read by every marketer. I mean, you want to talk about a magic trick? He's breaking down how system 1 and 2, collaborate, but you can actually, and this is the part that, I mean, I'm talking to brand nerds here, but this is one of the pet peeves as a marketer when I talk to lay people like business owners or CEOs are like, well, just sell the product. I'm like, okay, go ahead. Well, you go ahead and you put out a message that says, buy my product, and see how that works. If it was that easy, we would be out of the league. Like there would be no brand nerds beef but to speak to the unconscious, to the beacon of hope, to what's underneath of what makes the Lakers amazing or whatever brand you're working on, that takes a little bit of digging. And I think that sometimes when talk to normal business people, they don't want to dig in there, but I feel like psychologists have done the work for us. So I'm not like inventing anything. I'm more of a synthesizer. I'm saying, guys, Maslow studied what humans need. So if your brand deals with needs, he might be a good dude to peer into his work.
Right. That's really deep. Jade, can you put that book in the show notes for us too? Because I think that's something that is foundational to what BJ is talking about. I'd like to, BJ, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, The Happiness Advantage. Have you heard about it?
I've heard about it. I haven't read it though.
It's a great book. It's Shawn Achors, the gentleman, and it's also that's why it's psychologically based. And the point of it is that most of psychology is predicated in what's wrong with folks. And this comes at it from the other, like what makes people, what brings people joy, what gets people
the healthy side of it.
Yeah. And so Shawn I saw him speak and I read the book, and Jade, let's put that one in the show notes too. And the premise of it is that the happiness advantage is when people think, well, all I need to do is, get that great job or get that great girlfriend, or, when you're striving for things and thinking that once you attain those things, or I'm going to make all this money and buy a beautiful house, that once you attain those things, you're going to be happy. That is wrong. The way to look at life is to decide I am happy, and to find gratitude in the most smallest things, and to decide to be happy. And that's where it comes the happiness advantage. And so then you're not thinking of results orientation. You're taking control and you're deciding to be happy. And by the way, when you do that, things tend to work out for you. So
I love that.
I really recommend the book and whatnot.
Oh, I'm going to take a look at that. That's great. I love that.
But
that
you're bringing up
resonates with me.
psychology. That's a different kind of psychology. So
Absolutely. No, that makes total sense. I mean, once you figure out you can ride the horse on top, it's a lot better than the alternative. You know, it's like once you realize that there's a positive ways of getting there, it's amazing. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
yes.
Once you figure out you can ride the horse on top.
That's good.
That's good.
Hey, I had
all
to
right.
bring a little, you know, are you?
Oh, levity is great.
That's
Yes,
good.
sir.
That's good, BJ.
D,
All right,
what are you thinking?
I got two things.
Yes, sir.
The first one is this. One of our mentors, and who's influenced us greatly, is a gentleman by the name of Jim Emery. We call him Jimbo. So he's like the influencer of our work, and all of that.
Yes.
That's Jim Emery. I was talking to Jim once, and I was telling Jim, hey, Jim, we're in the branding business. When he said, no. You're in the entertainment business. You're in the entertainment business. And so your story, your Coca-Cola story, when you were sitting down and the lights went dark and the screen came down, that kind of thing, that was entertainment. And so I've added to that, Jimbo, I think we're in the entertainment business and the psychology business, which is what you're talking about here. And Larry, I did not know until BJ mentioned it, what it is that we have been attempting to do in our marketing careers, and what I believe BJ has now identified as those that are the best marketers. Yes, we love data. We love data. Gotta have the science. That's the left hemisphere of the brain. We love that. Then there's the right hemisphere of the brain with creativity. But what BJ said is, you speak to the unconscious. And I think this is what the best marketers are able to do. They can go around the brain and go, what is subconsciously going on with you? And they can tap that. Oh, this is the need you want. You want to feel brave. Ooh, let me just tickle that little brave need you have. And then you will now buy my deodorant because you think it makes you feel more brave. That's brilliant, BJ. Speaking to the unconscious or the subconscious. Can you say a little bit more about that, brother?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, you just nailed it. I mean, if we've been working on it for so long, I mean, you guys probably just take it for granted because you guys are like pros. But what I love always about your marketing was, let's just go to something classic. You took a brand that was the Sprite in you. Okay, that's cool. And it had a time like 1950s. That was a great tagline for, 1950s America.
Yeah.
Obey your thirst speaks to the unconscious. Don't obey your head, obey your thirst. And then what does your thirst tells you to grab? A Sprite.
Yeah.
So to me, you've done this, it's like, I'm just like, I'm a curator in the museum, and I'm like, and this campaign worked really brilliant because, this marketer knew exactly that there's a thirsty aspect of the customer, and that's the part that's going, give me something. Boom.
Right.
And also, I had some fun working on the Slurpee brand a little bit for 7-Eleven, which came through Coca-Cola. So since Coca-Cola is the biggest vendor for them, they asked us to come up with some work for 7-Eleven. And I landed at a spot with the agency was basically do something Slurpee, which was sort of spontaneous act. And it came from the behavior of the consumer pouring themselves crazy Slurpees with all the way to the top or bringing a bucket in. So I remember thinking the same way as like, if there is something that you can tell the unconscious, like, hey, it's okay to do this little itch that you have, and the brand gives you permission because, that's what the brand's about, then that has an emotional draw. And I think that's kind of cool when brands can do that. Now, I do have to say, brand nerds, and I'm going to say this to the audience and not you guys. Man, marketing's become so boring lately with all these programmatic thinkers.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, you're killing me, bro. Like, he's like, please bring creativity into the mix. Take a risk. I was talking to Jim McCann. He's a chairman of Worth Magazine and the CEO and founder of 1-800-Flowers like 2 days ago. Okay. And he's like, what do you think is the biggest problem in marketing? I said, you know what it is? Nobody wants to get fired. They're all freaking out. They want to protect their jobs. So they're, you're not going to, if I came to you guys and I was like, hey, I invested 10% in Google, and you're like, oh, results are flat. You can harass me a little bit, but you ain't going to fire me for giving money to Google. But if I was like, guys, I started this innovative radio campaign that's out of the grid, but our sales are down 10%, maybe I lose my job. So then I get that fear, but man, so boring. Like your stuff was like pure, that had that energy of, since you didn't have that ability to measure every helicopter marketer instead of helicopter parenting, like, oh, look, they took a turn, they took a click. Here we go. Oh, no, they went left. Okay. It's like, well, maybe we don't know what's happened. So I think that ecosystem of trying to get that perfect prediction, I know that it will happen, maybe a perfect prediction of the market, but I still believe that the creativity of like, how do you talk to the unconscious is something that's not integrated fully yet into the modern marketers that are popping up.
Hey, DC, I think BJ's onto something huge here. And where I'm going to build on what he said, which I completely agree with, is we talk about BJ a lot with marketing. It's the art and science of marketing. And what's happened is there's been an over-rotation to the science part.
Correct.
To the programmatic, to the data. Again, brand nerds, we are not suggesting don't listen to the data. We love Michael Wilbon on PTI, analytics. No, we think metrics and analytics are important. But here's the big but. It cannot be everything. And there's times where you really have to go to the art part. And that's what BJ is really saying. There's just a lack of taking a risk, taking innovation to really say, hey, I don't know what the data says, but my intuition says that we've got to be more storytelling, and we've got to be more emotive, and we've got to do things that isn't just what the cookie cutter and the data tells us. Let's get creative and let's really connect in that emotive, real emotional connection way. And that's rarely done from the science.
Right. 100%.
Well said, LT. Before we go to the next question, brand nerds, BJ is dropping some serious jew-els on your head as it relates to Larry's point about over-rotation on the science side. Mark my words, 5 years from now, AI will be able to do most of the marketing stuff on the science side of the ledger.
100%.
Years. Yeah, 5 years.
So true.
So if you don't figure out how to do them both well, you're not going to be needed. Just say
correct.
But to that point, D, many people think AI can do the creative part too, right?
It can't.
And that's where you and I totally agree. It cannot. That's where you've got to take it to where there's not machine learning. It's not about the AI. It's really finding the special sauce that is going to be human and intuitive.
Yes.
That's it. That is it. That's the golden ticket right there.
Good one. All right.
Yeah,
no, go ahead.
That's
good.
Go
ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say, no, that is true that, but I think that we'll talk more about technology a little later on. So I don't want to skip ahead, but the AI stuff, again, I think that's why I've been trying to share with folks the creative aspect. I'm like, that's our one advantage. Like, that's what we're good at. Like we even made the AI. We're the guys who made it. That's how clever we are.
Yes.
So then,
yes.
So I feel like we got to play to our creativity and have fun with it right now. It's like the libraries that are accessible to marketers now are a dream. I don't want to age myself, but I'm 43, man. When I started, it was like, you had to like either shoot your own photography, or if you buy like the old school CDs from, that would come in from the stock photography teams. And it was like, each stock photography was like $10,000. So it was like you really had to make sure you had the right picture, otherwise it was your whole budget. So it's like it's so lovely. Like, the brand nerds today, I mean, they could go on Mid-Journey and you could whip up some beautiful photography if you know how to talk to it, and like photography, branding. Oh my God. It's an abundant time, but you have to love the craft.
Ooh, that's great.
You have to love the craft. Woo. All right, BJ. You've had many successes, brother. You've been in this game a minute, so you've got many W's.
Yeah.
This question seeks to not cover any of those.
Yeah.
This question seeks to cover the L's. What are the L's? What's the biggest F up you've made? Just you, BJ. Nobody else. It was your thinking, and it effed up. It was massive. But more importantly than the F up, what'd you learn from it?
Man, guys, I have to be honest with you guys. I've had so many good F ups that I had a hard time picking and settling on one in particular. But and I debated myself on this, but because of Larry, yesterday you mentioned, young people coming up, they might want to know.
Yep.
They might want to see like, hey, this is a different path. BJ's taken a different path. He didn't go the traditional path. He went a different route.
Right.
So for me, I think I have plenty of what I would say big losses and things that I did wrong that I could have done better. But one in particular that shines for me was about 15 years ago, I would say, I had a customer, the late, great Tony Shea. We became super close. He followed me online. He was a brand fan of mine. I didn't even know about him as much, but Tony became really close to me. We started exchanging. He was following my blog. He started building his business around delivering the wow factor. And, he's always credited me with like, I inspired him, and we were super great friends. And when he sold to Amazon, super excited for him, all that good stuff, so everything is like a dream. We're going, they're going to Burning Man. And it started like, I don't know how to explain it. I've been thinking hard how to explain it because I'm only going to put myself under this bus here. But it began to sort of like grow and grow. And the party side of it became more and more, and the work became less and less. And more party and less work, and more party and less work. So one day Tony calls me up and he's like, hey, I'm just going to buy your company out. I'm like, well, there's not, what are you going to buy, dude? I'm like, it's just me. I'm a consultant. There's how much here, dude? I got a couple of magic books in the bag. Like, what do you got? What are you thinking? It's like, and what it was is like, no, come hang out with me. Like, I want you to permanently, we don't have a CMO. You can be the CMO. And I said, hey, Tony, man, with all respect, you and I had this situation with Rob, you and I as well. Yep. It's like, no, man, I'm an independent, man. I'm humble. I don't make the money. I'm never going to do the money you're making, bro. Like, like you're above me financially like a billion times, but I love being independent. I'll keep me on here. So then he kept, and I'll say it this way, so the brand nerds can learn. He threw more money and more money at me. And I ended up on these projects where I basically didn't do nothing. I would sit there in the meetings and they were all sabotaged by his internal team. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And I would bring it up, but nothing would happen. And we'd go on these emails exchanged with Tony and nothing would happen. There was a part of me that was just like bugging me, but I would keep coming and partying and celebrating and partying and celebrating. And then it escalated to a point that the amount of partying, let's put it that way, now even was concerning to me, and I'm Dominican. So it was like starting to get to a place where I'm like, holy shit, we're going to hurt ourselves here. Like, this is crazy. Like, what is happening? And I didn't listen to that voice that was telling me this is not good for business. And I kept thinking like, yeah, but he has more money than me and all this stuff. It's like, and I've been in those situations before with other folks. I'm not, it's like I came from the bottom. So it's not like my first time. But I was sort of in this, like, I didn't want to upset him. And I could see he was depressed and sad and upset. And instead of knowing my normal BJ move, throwing a tantrum and getting fucking mad and being like, this is bullshit and all of you guys are full of shit. I stayed quiet and it kept getting worse and worse. And then COVID hit and it got super worse. And then one night I literally wake up in the morning and I see the news that he's hurt himself, that he's now passed. And it just crushed me because there were so many things as a consultant that I was always there like wishing I had a stronger way. Now, some of his team has told me that he was bent on that path, that there was nothing I could have done. His buddy tried, but there was something in me that always felt like I just didn't throw down. And I always wanted to keep him as my friend and as my fan. And that bugs me that I felt like I should have broken that bond and be like, look, dude, no matter what, dude, I'm a dad. And as a dad, looking at you as my son, if you were my son, I would be worried for you. And there was something there that I didn't click. And then when it clicked, it was too late. So then I swore to myself that if that ever happened, I would become annoying parent-like and not allow for situations to go to a place where I know that not about my values. I don't want to ruin anybody's good time. But if the good time is being had at the mental health or expense of another person, I don't want to be a part of that. And I felt that Tony was the opposite of the cult leader. Normally, the cult leader takes advantage of the cult. This time it was around the other way. The cult was taking advantage of the leader. And I felt like everybody there was just taking and taking. And even though he looked depressed and sad, nobody wanted the party to stop. And I know that it's been in every fucking rock and roll movie out there.
Right.
But I'm like, what the fuck? And and we were really close. And everything I tried felt to come short, but I also felt that I didn't put that, like that snafu, man, like yo, bro, this is not no joke. Like, I'm funny, but now it's not funny because now this is going to happen. And I saw it coming. And I feel like, again, if I had to teach other branders and marketers, if you're built on principle, which I thought I was, then you have to sometimes question difficult board states. If the board state is difficult, then maybe that's a sign that it's difficult, that you should maybe contemplate the scenario and not push forward in that sense. So again, it's a high-level consulting lesson. I've been consulting CEOs and high-level CMOs my whole life. And I had a really good record until that point. And that to me was like, I really felt like I lost that ship. And I was like, fuck. I know it wasn't like 100% my responsibility, but he did admire me a lot. And I just didn't use my influence because I didn't want to fuck up our friendship. So I wasn't like willing to say that he was completely wrong when I knew that there was parts of what he was doing that were like 100% off. I would email, I would say little things here and there, but it wasn't like that, putting that foot down.
Right.
Which I can imagine because I don't want to get fired. I have the empathy for me. I had the same thing. I didn't want to get fired, but maybe that's why I mention it. Sometimes maybe you do want to get fired. Maybe it's okay. Maybe you land somewhere better or with more character or more strength to your conviction. Anyways, that's my
thanks for sharing that. That's deep, BJ, because I know that that's something that is really difficult to share and what you went through, and I think in a way you felt complicit. I think that's what you're saying, that you sort of just stayed along for the ride, and you look back and again, the learning for brand nerds: if you see something that's out there that ain't right, something to do about it, right? B, you want to have anything to add, or should we head to the next question?
Just quick.
Sorry to go super deep on you guys.
No, it's great.
Love that.
Yeah.
So
I figured you guys have heard of the spreadsheet mishaps and the overbuying media and all that stuff.
Yeah, we have. Brand nerds, just quickly here. Tony Hsieh, rest in power, founder and CEO of Zappos. Zappos was purchased by Amazon. I think it was the first major purchase of Amazon. So even Jeff Bezos admired what Tony Hsieh built. So
Well, it's funny you saying that because first Amazon tried to copy him and destroy his business, and then they couldn't, so then they gave up and they just bought him. And actually, I have that first day recorded because Tony and I were together when he got the first contract. So I do have many happy memories of Tony and I. We invented, we worked on stuff like adaptive, where we put in people with disabilities on our spots. We had a lot of wonderful things, but because of all that wonderful things, I wish I would have been more strong-minded and been like, hey, man, let's not go that way. Let's go a different route.
All right, LT.
All right. So next question. So when you're thinking about tech and marketing, BJ, right? Can you tell us where you think marketers should lean in or best leverage tech? Or you could go to areas they should be leery or simply avoid.
Cool. Now, this is super, super easy in my book. I think tech is awesome. I've been in marketing for a long time. I started in the .com side of things. I love the AI. I think we all know this, brand nerds, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you're going to work with AI, do a little background research on what it is that you want to get out of it. Be specific on your questions, all the stuff that everybody knows about, know your prompting, connect your things. But I think it's awesome. I mean, imagine let's say I would run a discovery meeting and we got all the keywords for a customer. So let's say we were getting let's say, what is the most important attributes for our brand lovers? Let's say something that you guys love and we love as well. So you imagine now you have a room of 50 people, all give you their words. Back in the day, we would have to bring it into SPSS or Excel and then queue every word, run the analytics. Now, ChatGPT, in a couple of minutes, we can say, hey, organize these words by themes, give me the percentages, which words are the top. So if you have good what I would call systems and methodology, it's awesome. I feel like as a consultant, I got a little bat belt now. I feel like Batman more than ever. I'm like, wait, I got one of those right here. You could throw out a whole net out of my back pocket. I'm sure you guys are the same.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's amazing. I think, again, it goes back to me. If you're a brand nerd, get into your subject, get into the things that you learn and use the tools and the technology that comes with it. For a long time, I loved SPSS. I still run SPSS for more complicated projects. That's a data analytical package to crunch data. I'm also comfortable using something as simple as mail, like a survey, MailChimp or something like that, that just runs a quick survey for you. So it's like, just be familiar with all the tools and then be creative. I think this is where creativity does come in as well. If you're preparing a survey or if you're working on data, using AI, technology. Lastly, I would say I like using the AI almost like Ray Dalio as a companion intelligence. And so I'll play around with, and this is kind of fun to do since we're in the nerd space. I'll say, okay, ChatGPT, create a panel of experts. I want a statistician, I want a branding expert, I want an advertising marketer, and I want a CMO. And I want you to discuss the following problem, and whatever problem that would be. Like, my client wants to get more lease ups for his building. So then the computer will break itself into all these different databases, and then they will all create their response for you. So then it's like, oh, your database marketer believes that you should do this. Your CMO believes that you should do that. Your copywriter thinks this. So now you have your own little panel of brand experts, as we're all brand nerds here. And then you could be a real nerd if you want to get into being a nerd. And then it's like, hey, now you have these insights. Now, I wouldn't say that substitutes having real discussions with those people, but it's a great way that if you're a consultant or if you're needing to simulate a department in order to get insights going for yourself, like more than just thinking inside of your own silo, I love using it for that because it'll bring me ideas from all the perspectives that you tell it, and you can have your own mini board of brainstormers. So I love the technology. I think it's super cool. I agree with DC. In 5 years, it's going to be super more automated. So a lot of it is going to be about us learning to collaborate with it and then actualize some of the processes.
Love that.
Wow.
Love that.
Wow.
I've got nothing to add to that. I think that's great advice right
I don't
there.
either.
Yeah. Do you want to go to the next question?
Final question, BJ. Thanks, LT. What are you most proud of, brother?
Oh man, thank you. I mean, obviously my family, the kids, stuff like that. From a marketing business side, having helped so many entrepreneurs, like the American dream. I'm an immigrant. I love that anyone can start a business, and even though I've worked for a lot of huge brands and a lot of big businesses, I really feel like that's why I write my blog, is just to have, to help everyday businesses. I've helped like the Alliance of Women associations here in Orlando, UNICEF. So, just helping people find, get their dream, get their dream. And a lot of people, business is a great way to make money and also, have a career, belong. So I've had a lot of small businesses. I mean, all the big brands, of course, people know, but like to me, like the 2 million plus small businesses, helping just everyday people is awesome. Like that's my favorite. I love just people entrepreneuring and following their dreams. And, I have friends that are magicians, musicians, and they're like, they all need marketing. They need to get customers. So, you always get that call where people are like, man, I just opened a little restaurant and I was thinking about how do I get my, and so it's like, I love that our job serves like marketing. Marketing is crucial. Businesses can't survive without us marketers. It's like, well, they can do it, but it's super hard. So once they know they have a friend that's a marketer, they're always like, oh man, what do you think? Or what's the tagline? Or what's the idea? I was just funny, like today, like the guys from Life is Good just called me today, John Jacobs, he was like, hey, we're thinking about a new tagline. It's like, it could be bigger brands or small brands, but it's that being involved and helping people. I love that. I think that's really fun.
That's dope, BJ.
That is, and I think it says a lot about BJ that he's proud of that, right? With all the big brands that you've worked on to help folks reach their American dream. D, we ready to hit the next segment?
Let's do it.
All right.
That was good, BJ.
That was awesome. So BJ, what's poppin'?
What's poppin'?
Well, I think Beyonce's popping.
I want to set this up a little bit more, BJ. I'm going to say what's poppin', and I want the brand nerds to know that this is our chance to shout out, shout down, or simply air something happening in around marketing today that we think is good fodder for discussion. And now I'll throw it to you. That was my bad. The floor is yours.
Oh, my bad. No, I think Beyonce's popping. Sorry, I got excited, man. When you started saying what's popping, I was like, it's my turn. It's like I learned this yesterday. It's choir practice, I'm first day at the rodeo. I'll get better. I like Beyonce, man. Her album. I'm a big fan of music. I'm a big fan of the Beatles. I'm a big fan of Beyonce doing some covers. And, I just love the marketing and the fact that she broke records. And, I followed a couple cult brands that are musicians, and I just think she's up there. She gets it.
So I think this is a great one, right? Beyonce's foray into country music. And I have to tell you, I'm going to get personal and get into it. Like when I first heard that, I love Beyonce. And then I'm thinking, but I'm not a country music fan. I'm just not. I can't say I've never liked any country music, but it's not something that speaks to me overall. So I was like, Beyonce, really? And then I was listening to some of the songs because we were doing a prep meeting, and this sort of came up with BJ, and it occurred to me like this is when an artist is really truly great. When they would say that someone's like, take someone who has a great voice that they could sing the phone book, right? Like, if somebody who is a great artist, especially an incredible singer like Beyonce, and she's really passionate about it, because clearly there was an itch that she wanted to scratch when you think about for her to do this. This would go against quite honestly, her brand to go do this, if you really think about it, from a pure sense of brand. But when you're passionate about something and really care about it, and you dive all the way in and you get passionate, and it comes out in the artistry and in the music, I was blown away. I listened to a few of the songs, and Like Jolene is a country-based song that's obviously had a lot of pop iterations because a lot of people have done that song, and it's amazing, right? It's just amazing.
He killed it. He crushed it.
What I'm saying, brand nerds, is my perception pre was much different than post. That's where I'm going. D, what say you?
I love this What's Poppin' of Beyonce, BJ, and LT. And I love it because of what she is teaching me, and I think others, about the essence of brands.
Yes.
And that is going beneath what you are seeing.
Right.
So she's not just doing a country music album just to do it. The backdrop is she's been I think she's the most decorated Grammy artist in the history of music. She's never run Album of the Year. Never. Her husband, Jay-Z, has stated, how can this be the most decorated woman in the history of Grammy Awards and she not get Album of the Year? And she's been nominated in Album of the Year many times. And I think Taylor Swift, another great brand in her own right, has 4. I think she's got 4. So what I believe Beyonce is doing is she's saying, okay, so no Album of the Year. You all believe, the general public, that country music is for white people. You all believe that. What you don't know is that Black and brown people created country music.
Correct.
So I'm going to come into it and remind you that we are the ones that created this platform that you now say we cannot be a part of. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it at a level with my stardom that will blow everybody's mind and teach you along the way. Yep. So there are layers to my brand as Beyonce, layers to my brand that you can't even begin to contemplate until I show it to you. So that's one thing. And let me give you a second reason why I like this. We laud Elon Musk for his wealth, Bill Gates for his wealth, Jeff Bezos for his wealth. These are people, and Mark Zuckerberg for his wealth. They all are worth more than $100 billion. Okay. My man, Bernard, I think Arnault, who owns LVMH. I mean, these are like 100. They are more than Elon and the brother Bernard, 200 million.
200 billion.
Yeah, 200, excuse me, 200 billion, right. Okay. They're not the first to be that wealthy. Like, we go back a little bit and we say, oh, Rockefeller. No. Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire in the 1300s, richer than all of them in today's dollars combined. So great brands teach you something. They touch you and they teach you something. That's why I'm feeling what Beyonce's doing.
I agree. It's great.
I'm so glad BJ brought this up because
I am too.
I was resistant. I'm going to show I was resistant to it. Like, I love Beyonce and I'm not country music. And then because of her artistry and her talent, she's taken it to a level where it's like, this is really good. And I really enjoyed listening. So BJ, thanks for bringing this up both pre as well as on the show, because it's an awesome topic and I'm glad we've covered it.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Me too. LT, anything else, brother, before we bring it home?
I think we should bring it home. Man, BJ, this has been so much fun.
It has, man.
Our shows, the best shows just go, they fly by, and it felt like we've been doing this for 10 minutes. So we're going to go learnings now, and I kick it off. There's a plethora of them. I'm going to keep it to, Jeff would be happy. D, I'm going to keep it to 5.
Oh, Jeff would be very happy.
Very happy, right? So the first one is, DC said this early, and I want to repeat it, that brand nerds, we are all students. Always be a student, always be a lifelong learner, no matter how old you are. Number 2, balance. This came up in the context of the Kobe brand conversation. Take time to be a real person, enjoying all facets of life. That's number 2. Number 3, BJ mentioned, he was talking about brand discovery. And I would posit this. He was suggesting to do this for brand discovery, but I would say you need to think about doing this in all facets of your life. Pretend to be an alien and ask any question, and don't worry about sounding dumb. Because if you ask questions from a place of really true curiosity, if somebody thinks you're dumb, it's not on you, it's them. So that's number 3. Number 4, BJ said, companies have stories. That's a quote. So brand nerds, when you are in position to manage a brand, how can you bring the brand story to life with your target audience in the emotive way that Coca-Cola did for BJ when he was 6? How can you do that? Okay. And then the last one is number 5. I love what BJ was talking about when we brought up technology. Think of using ChatGPT, like BJ said, to get different perspectives. Like he said, well, I feed it in as what would a statistician view this at? What would a CMO, etc. That's as BJ said, you're using ChatGPT to actually be your own board of directors, so to speak, where you're getting different perspectives on things. I love that approach. Those are my 5.
Great, Larry. BJ, at this part of the show, what I attempt to do for myself and for the brand nerds is describe the human before me, above their accomplishments, accolades, rewards. Who is this human? And what are they bringing to the planet that only they can bring? So I attempt to do that at the end of our show. This one's a little different for me, BJ, because I don't only know BJ Bueno, the person, I know BJ Bueno's soul. You don't just know me, the person, you know my soul. And you learn that when you are in close proximity with someone, spending large amounts of time asking very intimate questions to get to know the person. And you, BJ, have a remarkable gift of asking those types of questions. So with that, here is what I've taken away from this conversation with you. Start with LT's opening and him going over your love of magic. You love magic, BJ. From the time you were a kid, a little shorty, to now. You love it. Something called you. I would dare to say you did not choose magic, BJ. Magic chose you. And that is what started your foray into marketing. So now let me go to our 5 questions section. When we talked about like your first branding experience, you said Coke and collecting the caps. So you had caps, then you went yo-yos, then you went to the plant, then you get this presentation from the beautiful woman in Bolivia. And the screen comes down and the lights darken. And as you were describing that experience, BJ, and LT said this, it was as if LT and I were sitting next to you as little boys, watching this woman tell her brand story. So that was the first thing that happened. That came from your love of Coca-Cola, and there was a theater to that. Second thing is when we ask the question, who's had the most influence in your career? Normally, BJ, the answers we get is my boss here or my coworker there. We get that. No. You went to authors of books that talked about psychology.
Yep.
These are the folks that have had the most influence in your life. And then you talked about this speaking to the unconscious. That's deep, brother. That's deep. There's a psychology to this that you have said, if you feel a need, we humans have needs. If you feel a need, there you're great marketing. You throw a product out there and just say, buy my product, not so much. So that had me thinking, what is it, BJ, this wonderful marketer that is an actual magician, but also has this thing of humanity. And here's what I think you are, BJ. I think you are the Muhammad Ali of magic and marketing. The Muhammad Ali of magic and marketing. Now I want to keep going, brother, but give me, where's that coming from? Because I want to tell you why I believe you're that. Go ahead.
That's so kind. No, it's just kind.
Yeah,
it's very sweet, very kind.
You are this, BJ. I'm gonna tell a story. So I've spent quality time with Muhammad Ali, very close time with Muhammad Ali. One of the things that he does, BJ, you may know this, or he did, rest in power, is when I was with him and we'd be walking with a few other folks, he, his wife, Lonnie, his manager, Bernie Human, say, Bernie Human. We'd be walking, his photographer, Leonard, we would be walking, and then all of a sudden, BJ and LT, hundreds of people would converge. So Muhammad would do a magic trick for them. He'd do a magic trick right there in front of them. Like we might be on the street in New York. He's doing a magic trick. And then when he gets done with the magic trick, every single time he did a trick, BJ, he revealed how he did the trick. He would never just do the trick and leave. He would do the trick and say, this is how I did the trick. He took away the mystery of the trick because he wanted them to know. Second story that connects Muhammad Ali and you. I've been blessed. I've worked with so many different celebrities and entertainers and powerful people in the world. I've been blessed. I have never, ever requested an autograph, ever, from any of them, except one. I requested an autograph from one person because I wanted to give that autograph as a gift to a second person. The autograph I requested was for Muhammad Ali on a pair of boxing gloves. The person to whom I gifted that was Kobe Bryant. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, next thing, let's go into magic, brother. Why are you the Muhammad Ali of magic and marketing? Let's break down this word magic as it relates to you, BJ. M. What does the letter M stand for? BJ, you walk with kings, but you don't lose the common touch. M for you, BJ, means majestic. You're majestic. The A, apprentice. You're an apprentice, forever an apprentice. You are always seeking to learn, always seeking to figure out, always seeking to make your skills better as an apprentice. Because you are such an exceptional apprentice, you are an expert, but you're first an apprentice. The G, grateful. Grateful. You do not in any way shy away from your immigrant beginnings. In no way. There are many, many kids who have faced what you faced. I know some of them. They don't turn out like you, BJ. They don't turn out like you. So you have a gratefulness to your journey because you know your journey was hard and different, yet you still got a chance to live the life that you are living, and you have brought a child into this. The I, intrepid. It means bold and brave. You are incredibly brave, BJ. Incredibly brave. When you are looking at odds that are insurmountable, you are undaunted. Yes, when you were in the room with me, you were like, oh yeah, man, this dude is fantastic. But you were not like unbrave. You were like, no, I got something to do here. I'm brave enough to believe I can be sitting in a room as a 20-something-year-old across the desk from at that point, I think it was 7 or 8-time NBA coach champion in Phil Jackson, and from an NBA owner, at that time, and cool, as a 20-something, you were a fucking kid, brave. And then finally C, and I mean this respectfully, childlike. You have the wonderment of a child about so many things. And this is why magic appealed to you. This is why it captured you. It was a wonderment. This is why the story of Coke captured you. It was a wonderment. This is why when you and I both came up with together, along with Kobe and with Pelinka, that the Lakers as a brand was a beacon of hope, because there's a wonderment to that, BJ. That is why you, brother, are the Muhammad Ali of magic and marketing.
Wow. That is amazing. This is part of the podcast. That's crazy, dude. Wow. Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Wow. That's unbelievable. That's
DJ,
wonderful.
it's all truth, and DC weaves this together. And
wow.
And it's special, and I know it's hit you in a really good way. So I can tell by your reaction. So that's
absolutely
that's really cool. Hey, BJ, before we sign off, we've had an incredible conversation. Is there anything that you want to posit about the conversation, or anything else as it relates to it before we?
Oh man, you guys are amazing. I like the getting comfy. That was awesome. And, I hope the listeners got a lot of good stuff. I was trying to bring ideas that might be relevant, but also things that they might face up the road as they encounter their own challenges and pathways. But this was amazing. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the opportunity for being on. Wow.
Well, you were a special guest, my friend. You were incredible. We're only as good as our guests, and you are incredible. So with that, unfortunately, Brand Nerds, it's time.
LT, can I just say something here?
Oh,
man?
sure.
I'm sorry, I know you're about to go to close. Wow, man. I'm over here tearing up, BJ, because I'm just thankful, brother, that God has blessed me with the opportunity to get to know you and to call you my friend, man. I'm just thank you, brother, for being you. You may or may not know this, but BJ, you being you helps the rest of us be who we are, because we see your authenticity, and you being who you are, doing things the way you do things. It reminds us that, oh yeah, we really can be who we truly are.
Yep.
And
still have the lives that we want. So
our biggest gift is to be ourselves.
Thank you,
man, thank you guys. That's the privilege of a lifetime, is to be who you guys are. I mean, you guys, DC, I mean, I look up to you since the day I met you, and I always thought, it's like, so for me, this is, a wonderful blessing that we are in each other's presence, and also what you guys are doing. I mean, like yesterday, like when Larry was explaining to me that it's also about helping people coming on their journey, because I was a little bit like, biggest mistakes. I'm like, well, I had a lot of mistakes. So I was really, but I wanted to really think about that, because I wanted to talk about something that had impact, like something that really I struggled with as a mistake, in the pursuit of that, of trying to all of us be authentic. And, life is short. Unfortunately, it ends. Both our two great friends, Kobe and Tony, both passed suddenly and out of the thing. So I think there's this also for us a reflection of the blessing that we're still here, and not, and trying to help others not to squander away their opportunities, because there's other young men out there that are basketball stars that are going to rise through the ranks. They're going to go through the same pitfalls that Kobe went through. And it's like, if you can learn ahead, you will save yourself some grief. So, you guys are a gift to the world. So it's such a blessing.
Thanks, BJ.
That's awesome. And dare I say, young ladies now.
Young ladies.
Oh, yeah. That to be said too, right?
Yes. Hey, LT, I'm gonna say
True.
this one other thing, and then we'll go to the close. I noticed this at the beginning, but I've not said anything about it until now. So, BJ, what magic is to you, hip hop is to me.
That's why I wrote this for you, buddy.
I know. And so I just want to acknowledge that usually in my life, when the most special things happen, hip hop is around. And for the brand nerds that are listening to this but not seeing this, BJ has on a t-shirt that says hip hop B-boy on it right there. Yep, hip hop B-boy. And when I saw that, I said to myself, BJ knows how much I love hip hop. He knows how much I love hip hop.
Forever USA, that was a forever stamp. I put it on a stamp with the 4 phases of hip hop: DJing, MCing, breakdancing, and all graffiti. Coming out of the Harlem and graffiti, correct? And there's 4 stamps that go together, and this is one of the shirts. But this is I thought, was thinking about you. Yes,
Thank
sir.
You, brother. Thank you, brother. Yes. Thank you. All right, LT.
Well, that was an even better capper, you guys. Thanks so much for that. That's awesome. We're going to the real close now, Jade. So thanks for listening to Brands, Beats, and Bytes. The executive producers are Jeff Shirley, Daryl D.C. Cobbin, Larry Taman, Haley Cobbin, Jay Tate, and Tom Dioro. That is he. And if you do like this podcast, please subscribe and share it for those on Apple Podcasts. If you are so inclined, we love those excellent reviews. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we look forward to next time, where we will have more insightful and enlightening talk about marketing.